Today we are here with Rob Greenfield. And Rob, you are biking across America to raise some sort of food awareness. What exactly are you doing?
Well, actually, my mission's a little broader than that. My mission is just to inspire people to start living happy, healthy, and free. And for me, that comes down to the simple things in life, which is food, water, transportation, energy, and waste. And food's a big one because you can't be happy and healthy, truly happy and healthy, without good food.
And so, I mean, your kind of label is that you're cycling across the U.S. dumpster diving.
Yeah, so once I got to Wisconsin, actually, the first half of the trip, my focus was actually eating locally grown, organic, unpackaged food. So eating straight from farms and at farmers markets, supporting local businesses and local co-ops. But once I hit Wisconsin, I decided that I would dumpster dive across the state of Wisconsin to raise awareness about food waste. But then what happened is I found so many dumpsters full of food. By day 3, I said to myself, I can't rationalize buying food anymore. There's so much of this, so I donated the last $420 I had to a nonprofit to help end food waste. That's Food Shift. And now I'm biking to New York, living 100% of food I find in grocery store dumpsters.
Now, I've heard of this before, and some people have, but of course, the term itself, dumpster diving, makes a lot of people cringe, like, oh, that's disgusting, it's smelly. They might think only they see purely homeless people doing that kind of thing. And how is this much broader than people might realize and different than people might realize?
Well, in a sense, that idea is completely null because I'm not telling anybody to jump into a dumpster. I'm telling them to not put food in there in the first place. I strongly believe that nobody should ever have to dumpster dive because there shouldn't be any food in there for them to get. But on the topic of how safe dumpster diving is, the fact is that we throw away $165 billion for the food year, or about half of all the food we produce. So these dumpsters at grocery stores are full of perfect food. Talking over the lid, and there's nothing in there but good quality food. So there's nothing else in there to even contaminate the food because it's literally just piles and piles of food that's fresh off the shelf. And on top of that, they throw away so much stuff. These dumpsters have to be emptied every single day. So when you go dumpster diving there, say at 6 p.m. that night, it's most likely not been in there for more than 8 to 10 hours. So it's still perfectly good.
You find produce, but also tons of things that are packaged and wrapped, so clearly they're clean and not even expired. From bottled water to bread, you find bakery breads that are in bags.
Name it. Anything you can buy on the grocery store aisle, you can get for free in the dumpster. For example, I went to Walgreens and got 104 frozen pizzas that were still frozen that all expired in summer of 2015.
And why have you found that these things are being thrown away?
There's multiple issues. That, for example, was a stocking issue. There probably wasn't room in the freezer because they got in a new shipment, so they had to ditch these ones. So it comes down to stocking. Like, for example, one time I found an entire dumpster full of perfectly good watermelons. I can only assume they got a new shipment of watermelons in. The other ones hadn't sold like they had planned, so they dumped them. So it's either stocking, aesthetics. So maybe, for example, you might have a 24-pack of water. One of those waters springs a leak and gets a little water on the labels, the paper labels, and they'll toss the whole thing just because the labels aren't perfect. So when you're walking around in a grocery store, you'll notice that the displays are all immaculate. And they're immaculate because they throw away everything that doesn't look immaculate. And this is standard across the chains, but depending on the store, they pay more attention to that. Whole Foods, I mean, you don't see anything with blemishes in there. So that's because the blemishes are in the dumpster. So, and then lastly, there's suggested sell-by date. Well, there's 3 things: suggested sell-by date, best-by date, and expiration date. If it reaches any of those dates, then they toss that for sure. But what's important to realize is that the word suggested. Everybody knows what the word suggested is. It's a suggestion. And then Best By literally means that at that date, that's at its peak of its best. But that doesn't mean after that that rice or crackers or cereal is bad. It's just not at its absolute best. Absolutely edible still, though.
I mean, obviously you're raising awareness. Are you talking to these supermarkets as well? Are you getting some of them is on private property, or do you have to get permission? And then do you go in and talk to a manager and find out specifically why this supermarket, Whole Foods or what have you, why they are throwing certain things away?
So that's the plan. As of yet, I haven't actually talked. I've been building up a stockpile of photos, and then I'm going to start tweeting them at these grocery stores. I'm launching this citizen patrol. I'd like them to go to these stores, look in their dumpsters. They don't even have to get in if they don't want, but look in, and if they find a lot of waste, I want them to call out the grocery store and just, tweet at that Whole Foods and say, hey, your dumpster's full of food. You could donate this to nonprofits. And the cool thing is there's thousands of grocery stores across the country that are donating food, and there's thousands of programs that are accepting it. So all we need to do is get the grocery stores to connect with these nonprofits like Feeding America, for example, and get them to donate rather than dump it. And it's all possible for every one of these grocery stores. There's no good reason for them not to. It basically comes down to laziness.
It seems so logical, right? And last week I was in a local farmers market supermarket, so it's not necessarily from local farmers. It's one of these cheaper supermarkets, but it's all produce. And I saw the guy looking at mangoes and ones that had blemishes he was putting back in a box. And I actually asked him, what are you doing with those? Knowing what the answer was going to be. He's like, I'm throwing them away. I'm like, you don't, and there's farms all around him. Like, you can't compost it. You can't donate it. I mean, at least compost it. And he's like, no, it's just easier to do this. And I'm like, and just put it in a landfill, like where it definitely can't do any good,
At least they're not making up a BS excuse like liability.
Right.
So this is a really important thing for people to know. Why it makes sense for grocery stores to donate. First of all, they're protected by the Good Samaritan Food Act. So this was signed in 1996 by Clinton. And this waives liability of grocery stores and restaurants so that they cannot be sued if someone gets sick from something that they've donated. First of all, the food they're donating is not going to get sick because they're only donating good food in the first place. And second of all, they give it to these nonprofits who then the liability is off of the grocery store now, period. So that's the first thing. Secondly, grocery stores get tax-deductible write-offs for donating this stuff. So now they can turn this into a profitable venture rather than losing money. Third of all, they save money on dumpster fees. They have to pay for all that stuff to be taken away. Another would be a way that it's profitable. And then fourth, and most importantly, they're doing what's right for the community and for the environment. And that what's right for the community and the environment is also good for business. It's good publicity, and people are going to like them more, and it'll keep people coming back to them. Besides that, though, they're going to feed hungry people. 1 in 7 Americans is hungry, and if they're in the food industry, they should care whether or not people are eating. It's the food industry,
Okay, so what can people do? Say someone doesn't really want to call out their grocery store or look in the dumpster. Someone's not comfortable with that. What else can people do?
Well, they can just go to the grocery store and ask the manager, "Hey, are you donating to local nonprofits?" This way, you are showing them that you're showing them that their customers care about what they're doing with their food. It's a big one. But also, as an individual, you can shop at businesses that don't waste. So, just support your local farmers and your local farmers market. Also grow your own food. When you're connected to your food, you don't waste it. Compost what food waste you have. Basically, be a part of the solution yourself. Don't tell anybody to do something you're not going to do yourself. and don't waste any food.
Great. And if people want to follow what you're doing and kind of be a part of your solution, how can people find you?
Facebook, which is just facebook.com/RobJGreenfield, and then Twitter, Instagram, those are both at Rob J. Greenfield. Oh, and of course my website, which is robgreenfield.tv, and the blog's on there, and I promise to be entertaining and informing at the same time.
Excellent. And what's next for you now?
Well, I've got a month of dumpster diving across America, and I have 6 cities that I'm hosting these big food waste fiascos where I collect as much food as I can in 24 to 48 hours and make this big display of food that I find in dumpsters. I'm going to be launching another little campaign for dumpster diving, and then I'll tour the East Coast for about a month, back to San Diego, and then I've got some interesting ways to raise awareness about waste there as well.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. I really appreciate it. And of course, you guys can go to llworldtour.com for more travel stories and fun stuff. Thanks.
Well, thanks for having me. Be good, everybody.